What up, homeboy? What's happening, man?
What's going on, Mr. Palmer? How you doing, sir?
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. I want you to recite what you recited last week from Mr. Rogers. You sung a little song. Go ahead and hit it.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Would you be mine? Won't you be mine?
Hey, that ain't fair. Thank you practicing. I think you looked at on YouTube the words because last week you kind of added your own words. So I'm going to give you a round of applause on that.
Appreciate it, sir. I'm on my game, buddy.
Welcome to Let's Talk Under the Tree. We have Ms.Arica Quinn all the way from Denver, Colorado, the home of the barbecued moose elk. And she's going to give it to you raw and real. I think she just took her toothpick out of her mouth. All of her words, because she's up from up north somewhere, and you don't want to miss nothing. She's going to give you the AIOUs and sometimes why. Was that the right vowel smalls? I forgot, man.
AIOU, bro. That's it. You got it. I got your back, man.
Yeah, something like that. Show us some love.
Man, we talking under the tree.
That's what I'm talking about. We're going to give her a round of applause for joining us today with her busy schedule. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms.Arica Quinn, all the way from Denver, Colorado. I never been there. How about you, Smalls?
Man, I've been there one time, man. I was just passing through, truck driver, trying to catch the city, snap everything on my. See, back then, they ain't had camera phones, so I had one of those disposable cameras hanging out the window. But it's a beautiful city up there, man. The great state of Colorado.
Guess what? They have a lot of snow up there with the slopes, but guess what? I'm not going to do it. I'm scared. I think this entertainer was killed up there. Sonny, what is his name? From Sonny and Cher? I forgot his name.
I can't remember his name. Not quite.
Miss Quinn, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Sonny Bono.
Sonny Bono.
Sonny Bono. That's it. That's it.
That. Nope. I'm 6'3", and guess what? I'm not getting on no slopes. They said he was going like 65 miles an hour.
Ooh. Yep.
So that's pretty fast. Matter of fact, before we get into this thing, Miss Quinn, have you went skiing?
I went skiing one time, and it was my one and only time. I went with a family, and their daughter was actually training for the Junior Olympics.
Right.
And she had a freak accident and broke her neck while I was trying to learn how to ski. So I was good after that. I was like, I'm good. So my idea is skiing is going up to the mountains, getting the cabin, going shopping, sitting around the fire, and drinking some cocoa. That's my idea of skiing.
I know that's right.
I read your story and I read your bio, and that's why I reached out to you. You've been through a lot since the age of 7, I would say, and you have a heck of a story. I didn't even want to, hear the whole thing because it's kind of touching. And actually, between me and Smalls, this is a hard interview for us to do because we don't like things of that nature. But when I did speak to you on the phone, you said that, you're tired of being quiet and wanted to speak out to the young ladies and the men, because a lot of people don't know men go through that, as well also.
Yes, they do.
But it seemed like for the men, it's kind of swept under the rug. And maybe you can share a story, maybe, of another man or a young boy that went through something like you. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Ms.Arica Quinn. Go ahead and show us some love and share your story with us under the tree.
All right. Well, I'm very honored to be on the show with you gentlemen this evening. So I thank you very, very much from the bottom of my heart. And as you know, October is Domestic Abuse or Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so it makes it even more meaningful, more impactful for me to be here to share my story today. And it's a difficult story. It was a difficult story for me to even write, to even be as transparent as I am in my book. And it may make some of you uncomfortable. It may empower some of you. It may make some of you question But that's okay, because one thing that I've learned as I've gone through my journey is I can't be silent. I found my voice and I'm screaming it from the mountaintops. And I am a survivor of sexual abuse. And what people don't realize is abuse doesn't just come from somebody slapping you upside your head. Abuse comes sexually, it comes emotionally, it comes mentally, and it even comes financial. There's financial abuse and elderly abuse. Bullying is abuse. So there's a lot of things that fall under the word abuse or violence. It doesn't always mean that someone physically put their hands on you and slapped you around, gave you a black eye, broke your arm, threw you downstairs. That is not the only type of abuse there is. And so with sexual abuse, one thing that I learned, or one thing that is within my culture especially, is we get told that what goes on in this house stays in this house. We get told that children are meant to be seen and not heard. We get told that you ain't grown enough to know nothing. And so when you grow up with those lies, and in my book I tell you they're lies, it impacts how you are able to express yourself or to share things that are going on. So within the Black community, there is a huge impact of sexual abuse that people have no idea about, because we've been told what goes on in this house stays in this house. And so that's what we believe. We believe you just sweep this under a rug and you just try to live your life. And so my story began actually when I was about 4 or 5 years old. My first encounter was with the babysitter's son. For lack of a better term, he was mentally challenged. And when we would go there, it would be overnight stays, because my mom was a single mother. She was going to school. She was working 2 jobs. She was raising 2 kids, right? And so we would go to the babysitter's house and it would be all great until the lights went out, at least for me. Her son, the babysitter's son, for lack of better terms, I'll just call him Dustin. That's who I call him in the book. Would come into my room and he would pick me up quietly, lay me on the floor. He would pin me down. And if anybody knows anything about people who are handicapped, mentally challenged, they are very, very physically strong, extremely strong. And so he would hold me down. And when he would hold me down, he would pull out, I'm just going to say, his penis. Told y'all this is going to be raw. So take a deep breath. But he would pull out his penis and he would try to penetrate me. And I would wiggle and wiggle and wiggle and wiggle. And I couldn't scream because he would have my mouth covered. And he would keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. And then eventually he would just stop and he would just give up. And before he would get off of me, he would pinch me really hard all over my arms, all over my legs. Tears would be running down my face. He would pick me back up. And as he's putting me back in the bed next to my little brother, he would warn me that if I said anything, he'd kill me. Well, being that I came to his house all the time to be watched, I took that very seriously, that if I said anything, he would kill me. Not only that, I'm 5 years old. How in the world does a 5-year-old explain that? And I know there are some kids that when things like that happen, their mood changes, their attitude changes. They may start wetting the bed. You know, there's these different signs. Well, I never really showed any signs because I began to wear this as my defense mechanism. And my smile became my mask. And it masked a whole lot of stuff that went on through my life. Going from there, from the time I was 7 to 12, I was molested by an uncle. And people say, from 7 to 12, why didn't you say anything then? Why didn't you do anything then? Well, number one, when a perpetrator is preparing the person that they are going to molest, they don't just come up and take you and do it. They prepare you by showering you. So he was always giving me gifts, and he was always being very kind, and he would take me for motorcycle rides and all these different things. So as a child, you see that as this person loves you, right? And so for me, my uncle loved me, and I would never think he would do anything to harm me because he always showered me. He was prepping me for what he was going to do. And so he this went on for at least this preparation period for at least a couple of years. And then at age 7 is when the nightmare began for me. And I can remember it just as clear as day. He asked me if I wanted to go on a motorcycle ride. It was at nighttime. I was like, yes, got permission to go, got on the bike. We went driving through the city, and he was like, we need to go check on a couple of these houses, and where my aunt was doing real estate. And so we went into one of the houses, and I won't go into too much detail, but I can literally picture and remember exactly what the house looked like, how the moon was coming through the glass patio doors, the whole nine. And I was sitting on the steps, because there were steps that kind of went down. So it was like a sunken den kind of thing, but they kind of went down. And I was sitting on the steps, and he came over and sat next to me. And we were just sitting there talking and laughing. And next thing I know, he's rubbing and he's touching and he's feeling on me. And I was in shock. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I was like, what is going on? And so that happened, and he kissed me, tongue and all, in my mouth, and took me back home. So different days of the week, he would take me for motorcycle rides. And at every motorcycle ride, the situation would get more and more in depth. So it went from just touching me to me touching him. And then it went from that to him kissing me on parts of my body. And then it went to penetration. And again, people say, why didn't you say anything? Well, this uncle would freebase in front of me. And for anybody who doesn't know what that is, that's when you cook cocaine and smoke it. And he would freebase in front of me. And somebody that's crazy enough to freebase in front of a child and then turn around and tell that child, if you say anything, not only will I kill you, but I will kill your mother and I will kill your auntie. You don't say anything. Excuse me. You don't say anything. You keep that bottled in, and you keep that inside. And so how that ended up stopping was at age 12. He pulled me to the side. We were at my aunt's house. It was Christmas. We were celebrating. He pulls me to the side, and he says to me, I'll pay you X amount of dollars if you let me watch you and your brother have sex. That stopped it. I was like, you can do whatever you want to me, but you're not going to hurt another child. And so it just kind of stopped. And then the next thing I knew, he was gone. I don't know what happened. I just know he was no longer there. And so that, but I still walked with that around in my life. Fast forward to high school. In high school, I ended up going to a Catholic school. And let me tell you, Catholic school kids is worse than public school kids. They act out way worse than us public school kids did. And long story short, I ended up going out with the star quarterback of the football team. Everything was great. People thought we were the most beautiful couple, everything, like that. And then we go out on this date. Everything is going great. And he decides to rape me. Did I say anything again? No, because in my eyes, he is the all-star quarterback. He's the favorite of the school. Who's going to believe his word against my word? And so once again, here I am going through another sexual abuse situation, not being able to tell anybody, not being able to say anything. And then fast forward into college. My freshman year of college, I was having a great time. I'm enjoying myself. There was a football player that, starting to think about it, maybe the problem was I was trying to date football players. I don't know. But I was dating football, was getting to know a football player. And this particular night we were at this party. He was like, let's go take a walk. I was like, cool. We wouldn't walk. We wouldn't talk. Came back in, gave me a drink. And next thing I know, I am passed out. I come to a little bit. I'm in this room. We're on the bed. We're kind of making out. And then he leaves. And after that, I don't remember anything until I woke up again. And there were 3 guys in the room. 2 guys were holding me down. And the third guy was trying to go inside of me. I don't know how many guys had their way with me, but I knew in my gut that it was more than just the 3 that were there at that moment. And the reason I know that is because they were talking and I could hear them saying, all right, dude, it's your turn. Come on, man, it's your turn. Come on, man, it's your, that kind of thing. So another football player, who I'll never forget him, we called him Strawberry. He ended up finding me in this room, got the guys off of me, picked me up, ran me out of the party, carrying me all the way across the yard to my dorm, and banging on the door. The dorm mother comes. She's like, what happened? He's telling her what happened. I can't tell her all of what happened because I was out of it. But I knew that I had been violated and made a report, but nothing was done. Why? Because in our society, if you are gang raped, if you are raped as a woman, you brought it on yourself. It's your fault. What were you wearing? How were you acting? We get questioned. Like it was us that, like, I just walked into a party and said, hey, rape me. Here I am. I like to be raped. And that's how society makes you feel. So again, when you are abused sexually, you don't say anything because 9 times out of 10, nobody's going to believe you. You're going to get blamed for it. You're going to be looked at as a slut, a hoe, a tramp, a trot, all these different things. So you keep quiet. So then going forward, I ended up getting pregnant, having my oldest son, and I was living in a community that helps single parents, and I was going to school full time. And so this particular night, I was walking from the bus stop on my way home, and I got snatched into a car by 2 gentlemen. And they drove around for a while. Then they stopped the car. The guy in the front got in the back. The guy in the back got in the front and was like, do your thing, man, whatever. And prior to this, I had just went through a, what do they call it? A course, a defense course. And I had just went, and they were talking about, if you're ever in this situation, this is what you do. So all of those things started coming to my memory, and the face of my then 2-year-old son is visible to me. And all I can remember was going, God, please don't let them kill me. Whatever happens, just don't let them kill me. Now, one thing about rapists, for rapists, it's not the sexual act, it's the control and the power. When you don't fight back, that can be very scary because that's when they can get very upset. That's why rapists kill. It's not because they are murderers, it's because they got pissed because they could no longer force themselves, use their control and their power. But nonetheless, I went limp. I just went completely limp in the back seat and was like, and I even looked at the guy and I said, if you're going to rape me, just do it and get it over with. The next thing I know, he hit me across the face. I don't know what he hit me with. I blacked out. And then the next thing I know, they had pulled up to where they snatched me and threw me out the car. I got inside the residence that I was staying in. I let them know what was happening. I made a report. They had me come do the rape kit at the hospital, all of that. But again, nothing transpired from that. And so going forward in my life, I learned to do something. There's a quote that I tell people all the time, and that is trauma is either transferred or transformed. And so throughout my life, I was transferring my trauma. And when you transfer trauma, it brings nothing but negative results. But you are so used to doing it, it's normal life for you. So what was abnormal to people, or people looking on the inside going, why is she acting like that? Why is she? To me, I was normal. I was perfectly fine. There was nothing wrong with Arica. I was good. And it was at age 33 that the beginning of my breakthrough happened. I was sitting at home. I was getting ready to help some young ladies that were going to be ordained go over questions to prepare them for their ordination test. And they came to my house and we began to start with prayer. While we were praying, one of the then ministers, now Pastor Mary Lou Sidoris, reached over, grabbed my hands, and she looked me in the face and she said, "What happened to the little girl? What's wrong with the little girl?" And I'm looking at her like, "What are you talking about? Ain't nothing. What little girl? What are you talking about?" She said, "What happened to you when you were a little girl? Something has hurt you. What happened?" And it was the first time in my life, tears and all, that I began to release some of what had happened to me as a child. And she they loved on me. And the next thing I did was I called my mom, and for the first time my mother heard her daughter say, "Mom, this is what happened to me." Now, I hadn't told her everything, but the part that was significant about being molested by the uncle, I shared with her. And then she, in turn, shared with me things that had happened to her. And so, in that, it sounds crazy, but as close as me and my mother were, we became even closer. And I knew there was healing that had to begin. And so, of course, I tell people all the time, seeking therapy does not mean you are crazy. It means you are smart enough to know that you need help. And so I began to seek for therapists. I went through therapists. It wasn't a one and done. I went through several therapists until I found the one that stopped trying to clinically make me say what they wanted me to say and allowed me to tell my story. And so with that, I ended up also finding a wonderful life coach. And between the two of them, I am the woman that you see today. I am a survivor, but I am still moving towards the goal of being a complete conqueror. And so I've learned to stop transferring my trauma. And that looked like self-sabotage. That looked like, I'd have a good job and then I all of a sudden start coming in late because I didn't think I was worthy. I shouldn't have this. So what can I do to mess it up? Bad relationships, lying all the time. Like I said, this face right here, that became my mask. And I was good at wearing this. I was very good. I'm a pro. I could teach anybody how to wear a mask real well. And so being homeless for 3 years, having children out of wedlock, the movie She Gotta Have It by Spike Lee, I swear he came and looked in my window because that became me. A lot of people turn to drugs and other things like that. I turned to sex, which sounds crazy, being the fact that I was being raped and molested. But what I began to believe was if I gave up the cookie, I could get what I want. And so if I gave a little cookie, I could get my rent paid. If I gave a little cookie, I could. So yeah, it was horrible. When I look back, the things that I did, they were absolutely horrendous. But for me, it was normal life. It was absolute normal life. And here I am at age 51, able to share my story, able to tell other people, other women, that you can move past it. You don't forget it, but what you learn to do is what I'm doing I'm now a certified transformation coach, is teaching women how to take that trauma and turn it into power. My trauma is no longer victimizing me. My trauma now gives me power to do exactly what I'm doing here tonight, to share my story, to reach out to other women, to let broken women know you are not alone. You're not in this alone. And I'm very transparent. I let them know this is not a destination. Transformation is a journey, because every day something new comes up that I have to go back and go, okay, you remember the steps, you remember the processes, let's work through this. All right, boom, we got that. Then something else comes up. So it doesn't stop. And what you have to understand is I lived with this from the time I was 4 years old to the time I was 33. That was the first moment that I began to release it. But from the time I was 33 to the time I was 47 years old, which is when I started writing my book, I started to live. At 47 is when I started to live free. So when you see these women pop up, now granted, all of them, and it's funny because I can watch the faces of women and I can tell you that didn't happen to them. And I can tell you, no, she real, because I've been through it. And I know what that looks like and what that feels like when you are sharing that thing. And so there's a lot of times that these women, pop up and they talk about they 50, 60 years old and they talk about this happened to me. A lot of times it doesn't come to your mind until something tragic triggers it. And that's what happened to me. I had a friend that was beaten almost to, you couldn't even recognize her, and raped. And I sat at the hospital with her. And the more I was at the hospital with her, the more the memories started to come back, the more nightmares I started to have. Her event triggered all of the stuff that was dormant in me to rise to the top. But the great thing about it rising to the top, first of all, I got God. I couldn't have done this without him. There's no way I could have walked this. I should have been in a nut house. I should have been to committed suicide. But there was a reason he kept me. And I believe he kept me for a time such as this. I kind of feel like Queen Esther. For such a time as this, he's called me forth to share my story and to tell others, baby girl, even baby boy, you are not alone. Because I do know men that this has happened to. And I want them to know you are not alone. If you need somebody you can talk to that ain't going to judge you because you a man and think you weak, to me, you a strong brother, because you went through that and you still kicking and you still living, and you ain't strung out on drugs and you ain't slanging and you ain't doing all these crazy things, and you didn't become a rapist. You didn't become an abuser. I commend you. And so that's my story. That's who I am. It is a hard one. It's hard for men to hear, especially men that are very protective of women and love women and appreciate women. It's hard for brothers to hear when I talk about it, but it's got to be talked about because it helps us all. It helps me. It helps those that have been through it. It helps those that have not been through it have a better understanding. It helps men understand why, if they're dating somebody who's been through that, why certain things may make them move a certain way, trigger a certain way. It helps the whole process. And in telling my story, I'm hoping that my story helps somebody else either stop being abusive or somebody who's in that situation get out of it. So that's it, guys.
I want to give you a round of applause for that right there.
Wow.
Wow. I must say that was powerful. I'm going to play this little video clip of you. This was some inspiration right here. And I can't let you get off this show until I play it. There you go. That was
you.
powerful right there. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been suicidal?
There was a point where I did get to suicidal, and it kind of goes towards one of the questions that I saw someone asked. And they had asked, after using guys for what you wanted, how did you feel afterward, even though it was business as usual? And I felt so like in the moment, it felt normal. But when I came back to like
Reality.
reality, and
Yeah.
I realized that I did that, and I was like, you was a prostitute, pretty much, chick. You just pimped your own self out. And looking at myself in the mirror like that was very hard for me. And so there was a moment where I was like, you know what? The world is better off without Erica in it. The world will be so much better. My kids will be better off. How can I allow my kids to grow up with a mother like me? I'm a horrible person. Like, I really felt all of that. And so I did have suicidal thoughts. I never followed through with them. And I believe the reason I didn't is because as I was having those suicidal moments, I also was in therapy. So thank God for my therapist. Thank God for my coach, because that wasn't the only time I thought of having suicide. I thought of suicide when I had to go back and relive with my therapist and my life coach the experiences that happened to me. It weighed on me very, very, very badly. And so, um, yeah, I definitely had, those moments, those times where it didn't feel good. I didn't look good to myself. I didn't like who I saw in the mirror. And there's still some days today I don't necessarily like who I see in the mirror. But what I do know about who I see in the mirror is that she's a survivor. And if I can survive all that, I can survive whatever else is coming my way. And so I have to give myself positive affirmations daily and remind myself that I am a queen, that I am powerful, that I am strong, that I am an overcomer, that I am more than a conqueror, that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And yeah, there were times I questioned God, like, why, if you love me, why would you let me go through such horrible things? And this is going to sound crazy to some people, but I believe I went through what I went through for you. It wasn't all about me, because my story is going to change somebody's life. What I went through is going to help somebody else. And so I've learned to look at the situation of not what was me, but all right, God, I'm one of your champions. I'm one of your wounded soldiers, and you've chosen to use me. And so that's why I'm able to move forward and to keep going and to keep pushing and to keep uh, uh, hopefully making a way and a path for others to know that, again, they're not alone. And someone like me is here just for you. So
Through it all, still you, right? Hey, Smalls, by looking at her, do you think some folks that, could look at her and have a misconception that she's a nice looking lady and, saying, oh, no, she haven't went through nothing like that?
Oh yeah, I can see what a misconception can be at, man. You know what I mean? You just like she said, man, when she was going through all this the things she went through, sexual abuse, she wore a smile, man.
Yeah.
That's hard for a person to do. Well, anybody. It's hard for anybody to do that. Wear a smile, knowing that on the inside that you ain't right. Something is going on. And what bothers me is that you have been, you told, you have reported, you have, made people aware that this is going on, and they turned a blind eye, a deaf ear. You know what I mean? I commend you, because you do not look what you went through. Trust me, you do not look what you went through. And I'm glad that, now that you're sharing your story, you're more open with it, man. You're more comfortable. sharing it with other females and men as well, because just like you said, females aren't the only ones that go through this. You have males that go through this too, and a lot of times it gets swept up under the rug, like Mr. Palmer said, because we males, so it doesn't affect us. No, that's wrong. It affects male and female the same way. It just depends on how you deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Well, I should say it just depends on how that individual deal with it. The way you say you deal with it, that to me right there is strength, because even though you went through what you went through, you still was able to smile. And I'm glad that now you're taking that what you've learned, you've taken what you're going through, and you're fellowshipping with the ladies and the men that may be going through something, that may be ashamed to tell someone. They may be feeling more comfortable with you to say, hey, look, this is what happened to me, this is what I'm going through right now. I commend you. I really do commend you, because that's hard to do. That's really hard to do.
Yes.
If I can answer
Go ahead.
The person's question that said they were raped at 13, do I think there's a difference between rape and abuse? The only difference between rape is abuse. Abuse usually is done by somebody family, close friend, something like that. It's generally your husband. That's where abuse comes from. Rape generally happens by somebody you don't know. They just come out the blue and snatch you. You know what I'm saying? Rape can be, like I said, rape is all about the power, the controlling you. Abuse, you are wooed into abuse. You are prepared by that perpetrator for abuse. A husband that abuses their wife, he doesn't just wake up one day and smack her around. He's been grooming her for that, because he started with saying little things like, I need to know where you are at all times. You think he's just a husband who cares. That's control. And he's starting, then next thing it goes from, no, you can't go over to see your mama. Let's move way over here, away from the family, where it's going to take time for somebody, all those little things begin to happen. And then the abuse starts. Do you know what I'm saying? But to me, if I just want to just put it like this, abuse is abuse. Again, whether it is mental, some sort of physical bullying, cyberbullying, emotional, financial, abuse is abuse.
Right. You're also in a winner from a pageant. You're a pageant queen with Miss Colorado. I call it full figured woman pageant.
Miss
Yes,
Colorado plus
indeed.
America.
Yeah, plus America. Yeah, that's amazing, because I don't know if I could, walk down the aisle, I call it, modeling and what you've been through. Now, I'm going to put Mr. Smalls on blast. We're going to twist it a little bit. You already know I was going to do it. Last show he had this mask on. He's an advocate for, plus size women. He loves them. That's his style. But I'm going to show you a mask right here. This mask that he usually wears is too small, because it went around his ears, and his ears was, kind of red, and he was like hollering because had some, call them bite marks back there. So a full-figured woman what kind of mask can he wear? Does he need a big mask, or can you help him? Because it looked like it was a pair of drawers he had on. But since you came on this show, I said I was going to ask you, because you have the credentials, you modeling, winning pageant. So what kind of mask that he need to wear for a full-figured woman on a date? Because does he cut one out of material? What?
Oh my goodness. Well, they do come in all sizes. Masks do come in small, medium, large, and extra large. So I would just say, Check the size before you buy.
Oh man,
This mask right here couldn't get around his ears. I don't know who he was dealing with.
come on, man.
Would you like to elaborate on that? I'm just,
Hey man, I was just trying to protect myself from COVID-19 and the coronavirus, and I was just trying to be safe for others as well as myself.
Yeah, you was protected. You had like a set of queen sheets on your face or something.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. You know what I mean? It's all right.
Right. It's all right. So you're a big advocate for women. You know, we know with the sexual abuse. Have you heard of any situations that a man went through this also?
I have.
Okay.
I have a couple of male friends that have been through that, and they have come to me and shared their story
Mm-hmm.
with me because they knew I wasn't going to be judgmental and look at them sideways like most of the time happens. And I allowed them to really share their story, and it explained a lot about why they did do some of the things that they do, or might have not they're neither one of them are gay, but they have a bit more feminine expressions than most males would. But that explains where that comes from. They also were men that they didn't hang out with the fellas. They were always around the women. It explains why. Because they felt safe being around the women. Because
Wow.
they both were molested by men.
Wow.
And so they didn't hang out with men because recovering alcoholic. The other one is a recovering meth user. And that is what occurred for them. That was how they transferred their trauma. Both of those gentlemen, like I said, we talk to each other all the time. Whenever they're feeling like things are just heavy, they'll reach out to me, and we'll go through. I have a coaching course called Transfer Trauma to Power, and most of the time we'll walk through a part of my course, and I'll be like, okay, where you at? I'm scared to death. All right, let's go to step 1, and let's deal with this fear issue. And we'll walk through that, and then they're like, you know what? That's exactly what I needed. Thanks, girl. That kind of thing. And so, but yeah, it's you won't hear about men as much as you will women, because again, they're men and they feel like they should have been able to do something.
Right.
But when you were a child, it don't matter if you're male or female.
Right.
Thank God neither one of them turned out to be violent individuals. I praise God for that they didn't go the other direction and become abusers themselves. Right. And so I thank God, thank God for that. But yeah, so there are definitely men out there that experience it. And it may be more men than women, because like I said, men don't talk about it.
No, they don't. Not at all. They think it's a macho thing.
Hey, it ain't macho, man, with something going wrong. You know what I mean? So
we appreciate you. Where can we get your book at? I think it's on Amazon, right?
Right. You can get it on Amazon, or if you like an autographed copy, you can go to transformedqueens.life/my name, and you can order it that way and get an autographed copy. Or you can just go to Amazon and look up My Name, But Not My Story by Arica Quinn, Arqui, Ariqui. That's my pen name. And so you can do that. And I have other books because I'm also an urban fiction writer. So I got some urban fiction writing, and that was actually how I started dealing with a lot of what was going on with me, was writing through books. and different things like that. And so, I just released another book, Breaking the Silence After Trauma: 7 Keys to Regaining Your Voice. That's also on Amazon. And and so just working on another book and getting ready to compete in another pageant next year. So
Right.
That's what's up.
I'm talking about.
modeling in 2 fashion shows before the end of the year. And so, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. We enjoyed you on Let's Talk Under the Tree, as always. And, you know, you made the show. That was pretty hard for you to come on here and talk about, I'm assuming, but, you know, better you than me, I would say. And I'm sure you're going to inspire some folks all around the world when we share this and, you know, get everybody on the right track. Don't be scared to speak out because, you know, in our community, being quiet is golden. But in this era, we need to talk about it. That's why I created Let's Talk Under the Tree. You don't have to be quiet anymore. Just talk about it, speak about it, you know, and go from there. Be adults about it. You know what I'm saying? And we appreciate you. Ms.Arica Quinn, all the way from Denver, Colorado. Mr. Smalls, show her some love one more time.
Man, we talking under the tree, Ms.Arica Quinn. Love the fact that you shared your story, CEO of Queen to Queen. Y'all make sure y'all go get a book at Amazon.com. It's a beautiful thing that you're doing. I love the fact that you shared your story. Continue to push the envelope and make sure those individuals that you come in contact with, let them know. Speak up and speak out.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Arica Quinn.
And she has a birthday, what you said, November 1st?
October 1st.
Okay, we're going to sing you a little related happy birthday song. Go ahead, Small, start it off.
Happy birthday to you.
Oh, sing it from your hold up.
What?
You got to bring it from your stomach. Bring it up from
hold up.
Now, go
All
ahead.
right, well, I'm gonna get on my Stevie Wonder thing.
Baby.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm gonna just let you know. My birthday this month too, so I'm a Libra as well. So I'm just my birthday on the 22nd. My sister's was on the 5th. You know, and I'm just ready. You know, I'm not quite as old as you, but you know.
But guess what? Y'all can say all those birthdays y'all want, but there's nothing like Leo Nation. That's all I'm gonna say.
We're gonna leave that one alone.
You leave that one alone.
Yeah, we're gonna leave that one alone. Y'all doing y'all thing.
Thanks for joining. You more than welcome to come chat with us at any time you get ready. It don't matter. You know what I'm saying? You got a home here. Let's Talk Under the Tree. I'm Mr. Palmer. That's T Smalls in the house. We're gonna play a little commercial and we're gonna get out of here. And y'all wear your mask. Corona is real. And y'all have a good night. We love everybody. We love y'all.
Yo, it's your boy T Smalls, man. Man, I'm putting in my presidential candidate 2020. Meet me, where you at? You know what I'm saying? Meet me for president, man, 2020, man. Hey, and guess who gonna be vice president? Chicken George, where you at? Hey, man, can anybody find Chicken George, man? Y'all let me know, dog. Chicken George for vice president. Meet me for president, man. 2020, man. Y'all get at me. You know what? Let's talk under the tree.
Y'all have a good night. We love y'all as usual, as we gonna say again. Don't forget to wear your mask. Don't take the vaccine. I don't know about y'all two, but I'm not taking it. What y'all gonna do? Smalls, you talking kind of slow. What you gonna do?
Hey, man, if anybody know there's a liquor store around everybody corner, that's the only vaccine you need right nowadays, man. Get your mind right.
Y'all have a good night. We'll holler at y'all at a future date. We love y'all. Let's talk under the tree 2020.